Simone Biles has never been just an athlete. She has always been something more, a symbol, a story, and a target. And lately, that story has taken a turn that nobody saw coming. It started with a photo. Not a press release. Not a statement from her team. Just an Instagram story, a quiet, almost haunting image of hospital wristbands stacked around her wrist. Her caption read simply, "Almost dying wasn't on my bingo card earlier this week."
No diagnosis. No timeline. No explanation.
Just those words, and the image, and the silence that followed. And here is what made it even heavier. Her husband, NFL player Jonathan Owens, was away for work when it happened. She faced whatever this was, alone. The world filled that silence with speculation. Overtraining. A cardiac event. A viral illness. Exhaustion. But none of it was confirmed. No hospital name. No doctor. No official statement. Just Simone's words, hanging in the air. But to understand why this moment matters so much, you have to go all the way back to the beginning, because this is not the first time life has put Simone Biles in a corner. She was born in Columbus, Ohio in March of 1997. And from the very start, stability was not something she had. Her biological mother struggled with substance abuse, and the family eventually fractured under the weight of it. Simone and her younger sister were placed into foster care, moved between caregivers, uncertain of their routines, uncertain of everything. For a young child, that kind of disruption leaves a mark. But then something shifted. Her maternal grandfather, Ron Biles, and his wife Nellie stepped in. They adopted Simone and her sister and relocated them to Spring, Texas. A new home. A stable one. And it was here, almost by accident, that gymnastics entered the picture. A daycare field trip brought her to a gym, and coaches immediately noticed something in her. Something different. Something that would eventually change her sport forever, but nobody knew that yet. Her adoptive parents gave her more than a home. Ron, a former Air Force sergeant, and Nellie, a nurse, created structure. Discipline. A household where showing up mattered. And Simone showed up. She began formal training under coach Amy Borman at Balance Gymnastics, and from that point forward, the trajectory only moved in one direction. By 2013, she was 16 years old and standing at the World Artistic Gymnastics Championships in Antwerp, Belgium. And what she did there stunned the gymnastics world. She qualified for every major final. She won the all-around by nearly a full point. She walked away with 4 medals in her very first World Championships. The analysts started paying attention. The competitors started paying attention. And the sport itself would never quite be the same. But what set her apart was not just winning. It was how she won. The difficulty levels she brought to competition were unlike anything seen before. She began performing skills so technically extreme that the sport's governing bodies had to name them after her once she completed them in international competition. The Yurchenko double pike vault. Multi-rotation tumbling passes with blind landings. Elements so complex that training them at full intensity, day after day, accumulated physical costs that most people never see. And yet, she kept going. By the 2016 Rio Olympics, the dominance was complete. 4 gold medals. 1 bronze. Routines with difficulty scores that left the rest of the field chasing numbers they could not reach. She had not just raised the bar, she had restructured the ceiling of what women's gymnastics could be. But here is the part that does not show up in the highlight reels. Behind those performances, something else was happening. Something dark and institutional. Dr. Larry Nassar, the USA Gymnastics national team physician, was abusing athletes under the cover of medical treatment. 4 years. Inside the very system that was supposed to protect them. And Simone Biles was one of his victims. She came forward publicly in January of 2018, during the height of the legal proceedings against Nassar. Her statement placed her among more than 150 survivors who gave impact statements in Michigan courtrooms. Nassar was sentenced to 40 to 175 years in state prison. But the sentence was only part of the story. What emerged in congressional hearings was something even more troubling. A governing body that had received warnings and looked the other way. A system that protected its reputation instead of its athletes. Biles did not stay quiet about that. She spoke. She criticized. She demanded accountability. And in doing so, she took on something much larger than a gymnastics routine. She was naming a failure that ran all the way to the top. And the weight of that, laid on top of everything else, was still with her when she boarded a plane to Tokyo. The Tokyo 2020 Olympics had already been delayed by a global pandemic. When Simone arrived, the venues were silent.
No crowds.
Strict isolation. And then, in the middle of the women's team final on July 27, 2021, something happened that the world was not ready for. She completed a vault, and something was wrong. She signaled it immediately upon landing. What she was experiencing had a name inside the gymnastics world: the twisties. It is not nerves. It is not hesitation. It is a breakdown in the internal mapping that tells a gymnast where their body is in the air during rotation. Without that mapping, landing safely becomes genuinely dangerous. We are talking about head, neck, and spinal injury, the kind that ends careers and lives. She withdrew. Mid-competition. At the Olympics. And the reaction was immediate and split right down the middle. Supporters called it a landmark moment in athlete welfare. Critics called it abandonment. But nobody could argue with the physics of what she had described. You cannot safely land a double-twisting double somersault if you do not know where you are in the air. She knew her body. She made the call. And then, on August 3rd, she came back. One event. The balance beam final. She walked out under the lights, the whole world watching, and performed a simplified routine. Not the full difficulty. Not the version designed to win. The version designed to be executed cleanly under impossible pressure. She landed. She finished. She earned bronze. And in that moment, the placement was almost beside the point. What mattered was that she was there, competing on her own terms, after everything. In the months that followed, she connected the dots publicly. The twisties were not a single moment of stress. They were the result of years of compounding pressure, elite competition, a postponed Olympics, and unresolved psychological weight from the abuse scandal. All of it, hitting at once. Sports scientists and coaches took note. The conversation inside gymnastics, and across sport broadly, began to shift. And Simone shifted too. She entered therapy. She spoke openly about anxiety and mental health while still actively competing, something almost unheard of at her level. She stepped back from competition, rebuilt, and then returned. And in returning, she proved something, that stepping away is not the same as giving up. Her personal life grew more public during this period too. She and NFL safety Jonathan Owens began dating in 2020. They got engaged in 2022, married in 2023. A podcast clip went viral. Opinions flooded in. She defended him. The internet moved on. But the pattern remained. Nothing about her life existed outside the lens of public scrutiny. Not her performances. Not her struggles. Not her marriage. And now, not her hospital visit. She faced this latest medical emergency alone, her husband hundreds of miles away, the details still unknown to the public. What caused it? What came next? She has not said. And in a life spent being pulled between transparency and privacy, that silence feels deliberate. She will share what she chooses to share, when she chooses to share it. What we do know is this: Simone Biles has been through things that would have ended most careers, and most public journeys, long before now. Foster care. Abuse. Institutional betrayal. A mental health crisis on the world's biggest stage. And now, a medical scare that scared even her. Each time, she has come back, not louder, not harder, but clearer. Surer of herself. More certain of what she owes the world, and what she does not. Where she goes from here, only she knows. But if history has taught us anything about Simone Biles, it is this: do not count her out.